So lucky because I have an incredible co-founder. He is a second-time founder, exited his first company. That was a success. And he decided to join because he loves cats too. And he was drawn to the mission. He joined, I think, a month before COVID. I
Oh,
remember we
wow.
went into lockdown in San Francisco. It was like March 12th, actually, like exactly 5 years ago today. And he looks over at my face as I just see all these cancellation notices come in because
Mhm.
everyone was going into lockdown. He's like, "Are you okay? You look super pale." And I said, "I don't know what's going on, but we'll figure it out." And actually, Bruno, my co founder, he was really my rock during that time. And he reassured me as a first time founder, never going through a black swan event like this, that everything's going to be okay. Just control what we can, products, and we'll work our way through it. No one knows what's on the other side of this. We don't know how long we're going to be in lockdown. So, again, we're in a very, very lucky position where we just closed our seed round. We have cash in the bank. We can weather the storm, no matter how long it is. And then guess what? On the other end of that, we didn't know it at the time, but revenge travel came back and things were going crazy with our revenue. And I mean, we
Mhm.
had such a great coming out of COVID period because everyone wanted to get out of the house and they needed a cat sitter. So
Mhm.
on your darkest days, just know there's always going to be a silver lining. You're always going to be able to sail into calmer seas.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Features with Hello Advisor. This is a special content series where we're inviting founders and individuals that work in the startup world to share their stories and for us to hear from their experiences. Now, today we are joined by none other than the chief of cat hospitality, Sonya Petcavich. Hi, Sonya.
Hi, Alexis. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to have you join us for this series. I know you've got an incredible story and an equally incredible company. Meowtel is the leading cat sitting platform in the United States, and I don't think it needs to be asked whether you are a cat person or a dog person. But I would love to hear, more of the origin story of Meowtel, how you got started and why you decided to start your own company.
Yeah, so I was working corporate and in a sales function. So I was on the
Mhm.
road pretty much 75% out of any given month. My childhood cat, Miss Lily, moved all over the country with me as I got promotions and I was moved to new headquarter cities. She would come with me, and lo and behold, I didn't really make any cat friends. They're usually dog people who I would come across in these new cities. And because I traveled so much, she would be left home alone. And I would get back from my trips, and there would be revenge poop on the bed. She was clearly distressed, not happy that I was gone for 5 days at a time and no one was taking care of her properly.
Mhm.
So in 2015, when she passed away due to natural causes, I was going through this 2 week period of grief and sorrow and mourning. And that's when the idea for Meowtel came to me because I thought, I can't be the only cat mom having this problem. I didn't give Miss Lily the best life she could have had in her senior years, being left home alone, poor thing. And I said, I'm going to be the crazy cat person that solves this. And I was so determined about how painful this problem was for me that I went out, dropped my whole life savings into finding a development team, launching the company, getting things going. And then it's kind of been a snowball effect from there. But it was really thanks to my childhood cat, Miss Lily, that I'm here today.
Yes, I think many other pet owners also are super thankful that, you started on that journey, you took that risk, and we owe it all to Lily. Um, And so, just bringing the focus to today, Meowtel is an incredibly successful startup. And I'll just quickly read some of the stats that you've shared with me. You guys have been operating for over a decade. You've sustained a 99.7% customer satisfaction rate, which is incredible. And that includes over 80,000 cats and more than 100,000 five-star reviews from cat owners, which is amazing. And then this last stat, which I think is probably most impressive, is that despite raising less than $1 million in total venture funding, Meowtel is still able to achieve profitability and has even scaled to an eight-figure annual revenue. So that's incredible. And I want to dive into a couple of these numbers and kind of unravel sort of what factors have influenced Meowtel's success and journey to growth, and also some of the challenges and questions that you've had to face along the way. So While preparing for this interview, I actually watched another interview that you did last year, where you talked about the challenges of finding finding VC funding as a cat-focused company versus a dog-focused company. So when you were on the hunt for VC funding, what did realizing that there was this existing disparity, what did that feel like, and what did that mean to you? And then how were you able to finally secure funding for your startup?
So just to give everyone context, every VC in the Valley, they're all dog people. Every investor we have on our cap table, they either hate cats or they're allergic to cats. None
Oh
of them
my
own
gosh.
cats. So it was a really interesting fundraising journey that I had to go on and just, having over 50 conversations where I step in the room and the first thing I hear from the investors is, I don't know anything about cats. Why do cats need a care provider? Aren't they self-sufficient? Just gave me more motivation to make or shed light on this problem.
Hmm.
Because if half the pet owning population out there just doesn't understand what's going on in the cat world, that's a huge opportunity to educate and kind of rally behind this real problem that 30 million households in the US are having, because 1 in 3 Americans own a cat. They might
Hmm.
also have a dog, but they will at least understand the cat problem.
Hmm.
And so the fact that no one understood cats just really, really gave me the drive to paint the story.
Hmm.
And when I would go pitch, the investors would say, "We love your pitch, incredible story, incredible traction." But they would give me XYZ reason why they're not going to invest. And that's okay. That's just how fundraising works. But once you find that one person who understands the story and understands the potential of this untapped space, because everyone overlooks it because no one understands cats or cat people,
Hmm.
that's all you need. And so we got our one investor, Jason Calacanis, and that closed our seed round, got us to profitability, and set us up for success. So very grateful for Jason after about 5 years of working together.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that even though, the other VCs that you've spoken to, if they're like dog owners, or they're just not cat people and they own other kinds of pets, that they're not sympathetic to the cat cause. That's surprising. But, obviously you were able to overcome that and, still tell your story and connect with somebody, which is great. So after securing funding and becoming a VC-backed company, you actually decided not to continue raising more money. And for some startups, this may seem like a counterintuitive decision, especially when, VC funding is so crucial to some startups' growth journeys. So could you share more on why you made this decision, and how proceeding from there maybe changed the way that you decided to grow Meowtel?
Yeah, so we closed our seed round right before COVID.
Ah.
We're a company whose demand is tied directly to travel. So if you can't travel due to COVID,
Hmm.
you're completely screwed. And all of our reservations were erased from the booking log. And during those 2 years, we said, what are we in control of?
Hmm.
Product. Okay, we're going to build the best product and delight consumers for when they come back. Cat parents will know that we are the go-to source for cat sitting. And that's exactly what we did.
Hmm.
And I think COVID taught us that as a founder, you need to be in control as much as possible. You want to be in control of your destiny. And so that period taught me to grow a company sustainably and profitably. And then the second piece to that is being in pet services. Pets are now people's children.
Hmm.
You can't mess up. You got to do it.
Right, right.
You cannot do the Silicon Valley growth at all cost with
Hmm.
pets and living things.
Hmm.
Maybe with McDonald's delivery and DoorDash, that works. You don't, the stakes are not as high.
Hmm.
But for us, we've seen some of our competitors, their Achilles heel was just that growth at all costs. They couldn't scale quality. And,
Hmm.
now their valuations are below ours and they raised hundreds of millions in venture dollars.
Hmm.
So that just told me that being in control, doing things right, focusing on quality, and never compromising on quality in pet services is the key to winning, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And if we took a $50 million check today, we wouldn't even know what to do with that money. And I think it would have adverse effects on our mission and what we're trying to build. So, for all those reasons, that's why we decided to go on our own terms, at our own pace, in a profitable and sustainable way.
Hmm. And so, yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm sure, the people that have used your services 100% appreciate the fact that you have so much care and empathy, for their pets and, for their values as a pet owner, that, you would actually go a different route than most startups. Um, and at the end of the day, you still manage to grow just because of your focus on value and experience for your customers, which I think is incredible. And so, um, given this unique road to profitability and growth, what would you say are some important considerations that a founder needs to make or consider when weighing the decision whether to raise or not at a certain point in their startup?
Hmm. This is so hard because I mean, I mentor a lot of different founders at different
Hmm.
stages, mostly like the early stage, and it's always the chicken and the egg problem.
Hmm.
Do I grow my way to profitability or do I fundraise my way to be, keep going, or what do I do first? And my mindset is if you can revenue your way to growth and profitability and just get that really healthy flywheel going, that is
Hmm.
always going to be the right route to take. Of course, if it depends on what you're building too. I mean, if you're in AI, you're up against a lot of competition right now. You probably want to go raise money just to be able to even compete and grow.
Hmm.
So if you're in a more now traditional tech um, or like vertical or however you want to call us, or marketplace versus SaaS. But I mean, we're kind of like boring old school now. We are a pet sitting marketplace, which is not sexy in Silicon Valley. And so for that, it would be hard for us to raise right now.
Hmm.
Or if anyone's building a consumer marketplace, unless it has all these like flashy AI bells and whistles. So a lot of factors go into whether it's right or not to raise. But if you can, by all means, solve a real problem that keep consumers or your end user and customer up at night.
Hmm.
And if you can solve a real problem, you'll have customers coming through the door. Don't just try to jump on the bandwagon of, I think I have a problem, or like, I really want to be a founder, so let me just make up a problem and go build a product behind that. And I've seen
Hmm.
plenty of that as well.
Hmm.
So it's even better if you can experience that problem firsthand, like I did. And it was my pain point of not having a cat sitter for Miss Lily. And so yeah, start with your pain point that you've experienced firsthand, build the product that solves that, and then just revenue your way to profitability if you can.
Hmm. That's great advice. Yeah. And I think it's very impressive that you've been able to sustain that mentality after all these years of like growing and working on Meowtel. And that is really shown to like the community that you've built around the cat sitting services. Um, like how much people appreciate. I shouldn't just say people, I should say people and cats appreciate what you guys do. Um, I actually did want to bring up something that you shared in another interview regarding the quality of service that Meowtel provides. And you referenced this quote from Maya Angelou to sort of illustrate, what's valuable to you as a founder and to Meowtel. And the quote is, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And you use this to really speak to the philosophy of Meowtel's services. Um, and it's my understanding that you guys serve three groups: cats, cat owners, um, and your cat sitters, which I don't think many people initially consider when looking at your business. So, how do you balance like delivering value to everyone that contributes to and benefits from using Meowtel?
So actually, funny story, Ed, the
Hmm.
founder of Hello Advisor, he, he's been a mentor of mine since the early days back in 2017.
Hmm.
And he has always preached to me, it starts with supply. Get the best cat sitters, give them the best experience, and everything will fall into place. And
Hmm.
that's really the approach that we've taken and have refined over the past few years is what are our policies to set our sitters up for success? How can we be the best partners to them? How can we maximize their earnings and grow their business?
Hmm.
And once you figure that out, and we think we're in a pretty good place right now, there's always room for improvement, which we're always working on, but we're in a good
Hmm.
spot. We have a strong foundation. And then from there, they will delight the customers and the cats. And then they'll just keep coming back. And as long as you also have the right incentives in place, it gets the very healthy flywheel going in your marketplace. It's definitely not easy. We do spend a lot of time mediating between both parties if issues arise or complaints come in or there's discrepancies between what the customer thought they were getting and what the sitter provided. So we are here to be that mediator as well. And that's a big
Hmm.
value add that we do. But as long as you have fantastic sitters, and I am biased, but I do believe we have the best of the best out there who know cats. You know, they know how to give insulin and sub-Q
Hmm.
fluids. They have a ton of volunteer experience.
Hmm.
That is what will build a great company and a great brand. And so
Hmm.
we are all about sitter support, building that human connection with them. We have sitters that call us almost every day and they know our staff members and they have real conversations.
Wow.
They're real humans.
Hmm.
That's something that's going to be part of our core strategy as we keep growing, especially as the whole world shifts to AI and you never know if you're talking to a real person anymore.
Hmm.
That's something that we're not going to fully do. We want to maintain that human connection and make it part of the brand and what we stand for.
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like maintaining that human connection will be a huge like differentiating factor for you guys. So I love it that you're so committed to like the values that you started your company with all the way throughout today. Just gonna throw you a quick curveball question here. So then how do you maintain your relationship with your cat sitters, with your clients? And if there are like if there is like dissatisfaction, how do you mediate that? What are some key like things that you keep in mind when sort of navigating any conflict that arises?
Great question. And we have a standard complaint escalation process, ticketing
Hmm.
system, very clear workflows for who does what and what our process is that we
Hmm.
have learned over time that that is a optimal way to handle mediation.
Hmm.
And I think it really comes down to having as much documentation and data points as we can gather. So that's why we encourage both parties to always use the Meowtel chat because we have full visibility into what happened in that conversation, what was
Hmm.
said, who might be at fault more than the other if we can
Hmm.
actually make that assessment. If we need more documentation, we'll ask for the cat parent or the cat sitter to send in screenshots. What were the instructions that the cat parent left for you? What were the
Hmm.
vet invoices that we can see and review for the cat's medical history? So we always tell our community, the more documentation you can provide to us, the better outcome we can provide to both parties and the
Hmm.
clear picture that we can paint. But of course, we have those situations where we just don't have any data or the cat sitter wasn't sending updates or maybe there's something we can't really parse through. And in those instances, we just have to go with our 10 years of experience now and make a judgment call. But we're really proud to say that we do customer satisfaction scores for even our tickets,
Hmm.
where we have some of the gnarliest escalations come through.
You know,
And
I'll believe it. Some cat owners I know are very defensive
yeah,
for their cats.
yeah. And I think our ticket CSAT score is at 90% right now, which again is like
Wow.
heard of anything over like a plus 60 is awesome. So
Hmm.
couldn't be more proud of our customer support team and our sitter support team because they're both doing really, really hard work and parsing through all the documentation and making sure that we're providing the best outcome that we can for both parties.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Um, and so we talked a little bit about the internal factors that sort of influence a company's growth journey, as well as, delivering value. But you touched on this earlier, but there are certainly external factors that influence a business as well. COVID being one of them, is super prevalent for Meowtel. So, as a founder, what did it feel like, if we could go back to that moment to face those challenges in the moment? What were you thinking? What was going through your head? And then what sort of approach did you take to work through that situation and overcome them, while still holding true to the values of Meowtel?
So I feel so lucky because I have an incredible co-founder. He is a second
Mhm.
time founder, exited his first company. That was a success. And he decided to join because he loves cats too. And
Mhm.
he was drawn to the mission. He joined, I think, a month before COVID. I
Oh,
remember we
wow.
went into lockdown in San Francisco. It was like March
Mhm.
12th, actually, like exactly 5 years ago from today. And he looks over at my face as I just see all these cancellation notices come in because
Mhm.
everyone was going into lockdown. He's like, "Are you okay? You look super pale." And I said, "I don't know what's going on, but we'll figure it out." And actually,
Mhm.
Bruno, my co-founder, he was really my rock during that time. And he reassured me as a first time founder, never going through a black swan event like this, that everything's going to be okay. Just control what we can, product, and we'll work our way through it. No one knows what's on the other side of this. We don't know how long we're going to be in lockdown. So again, we're in a very, very lucky position where we just closed our seed round. We have cash in the bank. We can weather the storm, no matter how long
Mhm.
it is. And then guess what? On the other end of that, we didn't know it at the time, but revenge travel came back and things were going crazy with our revenue. And I mean,
Mhm.
we had such a great coming out of COVID period because
Mhm.
everyone wanted to get out of the house and they needed a cat sitter. So
Mhm.
on your darkest days, just know there's always going to be a silver lining. You're always going to be able to sail into calmer seas, but you
Mhm.
have to have the mental, I guess, like tenacity
Mhm.
to not quit. And that's something my mom always yelled at me about is you're not allowed to quit, just keep going. And listening to that advice, here I am today. And I really attribute it to just keep going, even on your darkest days.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And I think a lot of founders can become short-sighted, especially when such a like insurmountable challenge comes across that they feel like they can't control and they can't face. But I love your persistence. I love the commitment. It's really inspiring. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so COVID was a past challenge, and then we also sort of touched on this, but right now I feel like a huge disrupting factor is AI. And it's touching every business, it's touching every industry. Um, and for a very human facing and personal service, um, one question to raise is sort of the impact that new technology has on changing the way that businesses work. And so you already said that there's no intention of adopting AI into Meowtel services. I kind of want to dive into a little bit deeper why you feel those are just not compatible, as well as your take on how businesses should consider and integrate new technology, either into their workflows or into their products and services.
Yeah, and actually, even though we can't use AI right now to
Mm,
deliver the services, because that's such a human to human, living being to living being cross species experience,
right.
we are using AI a ton to augment our back end operation.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, we're using it in a variety of use cases to make our
Hmm.
team more efficient, more well equipped, more
Hmm.
prepared, more proactive to handle anything that might come through from a customer support perspective, and using it on data projects, probably eventually integrating it more into the app experience. We
Hmm.
have a whole idea list that we're excited to start working on. But I think if
Hmm.
you still have a very human to human end experience,
Hmm.
about how can you cut costs, make yourself more efficient on the back end by using
Hmm.
AI. And there's a ton of ways you can do that. So even if you don't have a traditionally sexy AI business, there's so many ways you can make it sexy behind the scenes,
Hmm.
which is definitely what we're doing at Meowtel.
Gotcha. And has that adoption been pretty smooth for you guys? Has there been any like points of difficulty like adopting new technology? Because pet sitting is, a very traditional business in concept, I should say.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I started the company. When I would try to
Hmm.
find a cat sitting company in these new cities that I moved to back in the 2015 era,
Hmm.
it was like you had to do an intake form, you had to print it out, you had to fax it in, and this was the year 2015, and it was still just so old school and
Hmm.
so inconvenient that a millennial like me just couldn't handle that experience. So I said, we're gonna make the booking process easy, efficient through an app, and your cat sitter arrives the next day if you need it. And that's really the premise behind Meowtal.
Hmm.
And so, so even though, you know, on the end experience, sorry, I totally forgot your question.
No, 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 you're fine. I can repeat it really quickly. My original question was, how smooth has been the integration of AI
Thank you.
into Meowtel? Um, and sort of what's your take on the integration of new technologies in more traditional businesses like pet sitting?
Okay, yes.
Hmm. All good,
So
all good.
the convenience start part is still a big reason why I started the company.
Hmm.
But integration of AI has been a learning experience. I think it's
Hmm.
been going much smoother than we anticipated, as long as you're really good at prompting and
Okay.
being willing to refine the prompts and really invest that time and energy up front to make sure
Hmm.
that the AI is getting as granular as possible. That's where you'll have the best results. And I know there's probably like whole boot camps nowadays about just how to prompt AI properly to get your desired outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have found it to be pretty smooth. There is a slight learning curve, but the more you read about it and read forums like Reddit and Hacker News, that'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely help you. And all the models that are coming out nowadays, you can even like use multiple models. I mean, we have tried different services, not just Chat GPT's API, but we are looking into others because they have their strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's been a learning curve, but exciting. Like this is the stuff that really motivates developers uh,
Mm-hmm.
to be on the cutting edge of all this AI stuff and even being able to implement it into a more traditional business,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great challenge. So we're excited and we're going to keep implementing as much as we can.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love how you see it as opportunity, rather than just like another thing you have to consider. Um, I'm excited to see how this will start to enhance, Meowtel and those cat sitting services as well. Um, so we are reaching the end of our time, but I have a couple questions left for you, just sort of some takeaways from our discussion as a whole, and to leave our listeners with a bit of advice. So you've expressed vehemently that Meowtel will remain a cat-focused company. No expansion into the dog industry. Um, but I am curious if you are worried that sticking to such a specific niche, how that'll impact the future of Meowtel. And if you're not afraid at all, then what do you believe are factors or traits that will keep Meowtel on top?
The analogy I always like to use is for our West Coasters out there, In-N-Out Burger.
Mm, mhm,
In-N-Out does one thing and they do it exceptionally well. And as a result, they have a cult following. They don't have to spend millions and millions on ad campaigns. And they have that word of mouth virality naturally because they just do burgers, fries, and shakes, and they do it really well and they do it to their style.
mhm,
That is the same idea that we're doing here at Meowtel. We're only going to do cat sitting and we're going to do it exceptionally well because guess what? Services and trusting people to come into your home, that is already hard enough with a multitude of challenges that if you can master that, then kind of the world is your oyster. So I'm not saying never say never to other cat centric opportunities out there. I can definitely say we will say no and never to any other species. We are
mhm,
not a dog company and we never will be. But for cats, we're just going to keep it simple and be the best.
mhm. Awesome. I bet the cats will really appreciate that too.
Hope so.
Um, and so lastly, to leave our listeners with one piece of advice, from your experience, what is a good mindset that founders need to adopt if they want to grow their startup?
The moment you are ready to take the leap and start a company, just remember it's a 10-year marathon.
Mm,
You don't get a break. You work 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You're constantly thinking about work. It consumes you, which has pros and cons because I love being challenged. I love learning. So this is a great fit for me because I'm constantly on my toes. Another great thing is you have full control so long as you don't have like a huge board and you don't lose majority stake in your company. You can do whatever you want. You have full creative reign, and that's awesome as well. And so just know that you're going to have your high highs, low lows, but the moment you decide to start, just know it's going to be a marathon of 10 years. But hopefully you'll get the outcome you want and build for a big future and follow through on your mission.
I love that. And I hope more founders take that into consideration and, expand their perspective from just the short term to really the long term. Because you just never know. You never know. But anyway, I think that concludes our time together, Sonia. I really appreciate having you join us for this series, and sharing some really great knowledge from your experience. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here.
Of course. All right. And for our listeners, we'll see you for our next feature interview. Thank you.